Right. My name is Dr. Professor Brian G. McEnery, and I am calling from Ireland. And I want to talk this morning about Riricon Táisiúil, compassion in administration. And I attended a beautiful Zoom session last night or yesterday evening, organised by a friend of mine, Paul. And one of the things that struck me was we were talking about the language of the soul. Changanam. Changanam. That's what I do when I'm thinking of things in terms of poetics. I just say Changa Anam Kara, Changa Kara, Kar Changanas, Karchanganas. You start to play around with words. But one thing that came across was, from people speaking, was that there was a need in our society for a greater amount of compassion in administration. People need to have the ability, the training, the compassion within themselves to interpret rules and regulations. And that, when I was starting this today, I was thinking of our Minister for Education. Oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. They are behaving like dictators. Give the children a chance. First, they had to get used to this assisted grading or whatever term they come up with. And I have found that the State Examinations Commission is one of the areas where I would reform immediately. In this country we have great students, but the system is failing the students time and time again. And most recently, when our mouthpiece for education says, we're going to do it my way and no other way. Well, we'll see. We'll see. In my kingdom, that is not the way that we would behave. And remember, Norma, you're in my kingdom. I am declaring myself Dukish Naharind. If you don't know what that means, tough luck. Compassion in administration. Riricon Táisiúil. Táis is a beautiful Irish word for compassion. And when I first came across it, I had Táisha, compassionate geometry, because geometry is one of the first areas of mathematics, according to the Greek tradition anyway. It is one of the most important areas of mathematical knowledge. It's where the basis of logic is created. And there's a beautiful book, which I've never really read. I've read bits of it. I've read so many books. It's about the geometry and the circle tradition and how geometry was taught all those millennia ago. But the fundamentals of geometry need to be changed. We need to include Vedic geometry, which is quite different. We need to include the research of Dr. S.K. Kapoor, which is quite different. And compassion in administration. Remember that people are taught the basics of administration in school. That's where the basics of administration is laid down. That is where the approach to resolving problems can be developed. I talk about computation. I do not talk about the logic of mathematics. The logic of mathematics is one part of computation. It is not the totality. And I think of computation in terms of something similar to Feynman diagrams or something similar to calculus of variations, where we have a starting point, we have a finishing point, and we have a number of different pathways to go from A to B. It's not a zoom. You don't always want to go by the quickest route. Sometimes a student likes to wander around. And there is a feeling in the current realm of so-called mathematical education which denies intuition. It denies the fact that a student just sees something and writes down an answer. That is perfectly acceptable. But no, the so-called educationalists deny that. Oh, everything has to be dotted and crossed and T'd and whatever. And that's what's going wrong with our educational system. That's what's gone wrong with our administrative system. That is what's going wrong with the situation between the West and Russia at the moment. Too much dot crossing, or T crossing, too much dotting. They're all doting. Doting, a doting way that could, if not careful, bring us on the brink of war. Let's bring ourselves on the brink of peace. Let us say as a people, we are not going to put up with this anymore. Let us say, let us pray that sense prevails everywhere. Let us pray that peace prevails everywhere. And you know, peace is not the absence of the potential for conflict. No. Peace is the ability to resolve issues. And you wonder, why am I suddenly talking about conflict when I was started off talking about administration and then mathematics? I seem to be travelling all over the place. When I am a Tachyon warrior, I travel at the faster than the speed of light. And when I started this program, I could see, when I started the Simple Sums program, when I started this investigation into something that was missing from our educational system, I started to look for a light. Some may call it the light of Jyotish. I would call it Solus Tina Firalisha. Solus Firalisha. The Tachyon light of pure knowledge. And that, Tommy Kun Imacht. Slán agus Benacht.